like to start the meeting Thursday, December 5th. It looks like we're missing Michael. I didn't get a note that he wasn't coming, so I'm assuming he's late. There's 6 of us. Michael's not here. Looks like I have one public comment. Not on the agenda. On?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back, Ken. Nice to see you again. I come here as a business person in downtown for over 20 years, and
Why don't you announce your name? And
I'm sorry, Ron Labitich, commercial real estate broker, 339 South San Antonio Road, Los Altos. So I've been a commercial real estate broker in town well over 20 years, and in the profession about double that time. And the 20 years I've been down here, I think this is the first time that the perception of downtown Los Altos has kind of turned to the positive. We have people, it's a more vibrant town now, we have a lot of activities going on. We have a new Pendleton store that's what's amazing, is doing a fantastic business. We've got a new restaurant in the old train station. We have a bookstore now, so things have changed. And one example of that is a lot of brokers that work outside of Los Altos will call and say, what's going on or this and that. So about a week ago, I had a call from a guy named Bill Terry, who's a broker in Los Gatos. And I've known him for a long time. He says, boy, your town has really changed over. Boy, just fantastic. And I have 2 restaurants that, that are experienced people that, restaurants would like to come here. Well, that's just kind of music to my ears. So I say that prior to me talking about a couple other things. Many of the leaders in downtown, including myself, are concerned with a shortage of parking. And I'm going to look at some of you in the eye, and we've all served on some committees together for a long time. The latest parking study, I think, cost over $150,000. I don't believe that this group, this commission, was involved in this, and I may be 100% incorrect on that. So I don't think that has happened. And at least a couple of the city council people want to get the community involved to make a decision, hopefully, on parking. Now, we've all been at this for a long, long time, and the only reason I came down here tonight on a chilly night is to say I don't know how, I hope you all, and this group, there's a lot of experience here, gets involved with at least reviewing this and taking a look at it, because I think after the first of the year, I think it's going to become forefront. So thank you very much.
I'm going to make a comment, Ron, because I've been involved in several of the parking studies, and at a recent council meeting, probably 2 months ago, I actually made comment to the council that it was time for the council to, pick a location, put the plan in place, because by the time you know that you need parking, it's too late, and we're sort of getting to that point. But I'm not sure where the council is these days on parking.
when you say put the plan in place, you mean adding a structure, or is that, what do you mean by that?
By that I mean pick the location, cost it out, get everything ready. There was some concern on the council that, maybe it's not, it's too early. And I said, well, at the very least, do all the things you need to do now, because it's, that process takes a while, and then once you make the decision, it's 2 years before it's actually operational.
Well, why don't we close this out? Obviously, we can't comment on this, but perhaps, and when we come to the end of the agenda, when we talk about potential future agenda items, maybe we can discuss this, okay? Thanks, Ron, I appreciate it.
I was also going to say, I think Ron should go to City Council, because I think that's a venue which could use that input as well as us. And you might note that Mike's here.
Yes, we now have Michael joined us, and that's all 7 of us, okay? Incidentally, if you have a cell phone, anything that makes noise, please turn it off. Thank you. Okay. but we have to approve the minutes. Anybody?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes, unless there's a correction.
I do have a correction.
Okay.
On the minutes of November 21st, on the second page, third paragraph down, Commission discussed the project. Second sentence says, "The Commission also expressed general support for proposed architectural design." I was very specific in my comments, as were a number of other commissioners, that, in fact, we were not commenting on the merits of the design. We were simply addressing issues around the parking, and so I think that's a mischaracterization. And I was very clear that I had specific comments about the project in general, that I was hoping the applicant talk to me as well as other commissioners to get feedback. This leads people to believe that we've blessed the design, and I don't believe that that's accurate.
How would you
I mean, that's my-
choose to rephrase it?
Yes, how would you choose to change it?
I would simply say the commission raised concerns about sightline visibility at First Street driveway and the design of the plaza feature at the corner, and all other comments about design were going to be held for a subsequent meeting.
Yeah, for future meeting. I agree with that. Any other comments?
No.
Okay.
I'll
You wanna-
second Mike's motion to the corrected minutes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, none opposed, thank you. Okay, the
Second
first,
set of minutes, or was that for both sets?
We've got another set of minutes, too,
We have minutes of the special meeting.
this special session.
oh, that's right.
I move we approve that set of minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Public hearing. First one is Courtney Fogo on 4940 El Camino Real.
Good evening, Commissioners. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Sierra Davis, Assistant City Planner for the city. I do have a PowerPoint. I'm going to go turn that on, and then I'll go over the project with you. So the application before you tonight is a commercial design review application at 4940 El Camino Real. It's for the addition of 3,679 square feet to an existing mixed-use commercial and office building. The application is before you tonight because the addition is in excess of 500 square feet and is required review by the Planning and Transportation Commission with final approval by the City Council. So in front of you is the site plan for the project. The plan shows the existing building outlined in white, and then the new additions at the front of the building and the side of the building shaded in gray. To the left-hand side is El Camino Real, and then the side facing the parking lot is the new entrance. The addition at the front of the building facing El Camino is a first and second story addition. First story would include a cafe or a expansion of the existing restaurant use, and the second floor would be for office use. The front of the building facing the parking lot would be for a new, more prominent entry, and includes a elevator and new stairway, an entryway for the building that would lead to the offices. We did receive a letter. You received the letter tonight in regards tenant lease agreements for the existing restaurant use on the first floor. However, this is not within the purview of the city to discuss that. So we just wanted to let you know that we did receive a letter on this issue. So the existing structure right now is set back 50 feet from El Camino Real. They are expanding the front of the building another 25 feet, so they'll meet the 25-foot requirement in this zone district. They are also proposing an outdoor seating area for the new cafe or expansion of the restaurant. We're not sure what that is yet. And then there's also going to be a new pedestrian walkway adjacent to the patio with access to the building. And then the other thing we want to bring up on the site plan is they are proposing to move the existing trash enclosure. It is located in the middle of the landscape planner currently. They would propose to move it to the end of the landscape planner where there's existing 3 parking spaces. Those parking spaces would be moved to where the existing location is. Staff recommends keeping the trash enclosure in the existing location, and it has added condition number 8, which requires the trash enclosure to be maintained and upgraded to minimum city standards as necessary. This slide shows the proposed facade renovations. It does include all new materials, so a facade upgrade, as well as new architectural elements at the front of the building and the side of the building. At the front of the building, which on the top elevation on the left-hand side, those would be new stone veneer, and those extend approximately 3 feet above the existing parapet for an overall height of 30 feet. So there's two architectural extensions for signs, and then also the more prominent entry would extend 3 feet above the existing parapet wall. New materials include stucco with a smooth finish, cultured stone veneer, natural stone paneling on the new office entrance. So there's going to be 2 different materials for the architectural elements, aluminum awnings and aluminum windows. So the existing parapet wall will be maintained with just those 3 new extensions. Those are also located away from the residential element. So the commercial property abuts a residential element to the back, but these new larger elements are going to be towards the front of the property.
Sierra, can I
Yes.
interrupt you for just a
Sure.
second while we have this view up? So it was unclear to me whether, depending on what the new added front part of the building turned out to be, whether or not the existing entryway to the boardwalk, which is kind of angled, is that going to remain, or would that be changed depending on what the front of the building turned out to be?
We can't see it from this view, but the existing boardwalk entrance will be maintained, and then the new addition will just be added to the front of that. So it'll maintain that angled
So
entrance.
independent of what the other thing becomes.
Exactly. So there's going to be a new entry, whether it's the new boardwalk. If the boardwalk extends, they'll maintain their existing entrance according to the plans, and then the new entrance will be next to it. Or if it's a cafe, then it's going to be
A separate
separate. It's going to be
facility,
separate
yeah.
facility. Yes.
Okay.
So this area that says pizza, because that's what I was alluded, when you were saying that, what I alluded to, that's
Right.
the entryway that's currently there?
Yes.
Right, that's how you get into the boardwalk now, but in the.
But it's hard because it looks like it's a straight surface across rather than an
Exactly,
angle.
But it's angled, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They shaded it just a little bit, but it'll maintain the angle. These are more elevations. This shows the top elevation is the front of the building, and the bottom elevation is the rear of the building. You can see the angle of the new sign architectural elements. So these architectural elements, they're also closer to the street, so they will help announce the building to vehicle traffic, pulling them in and telling you that there's different uses on that site. This is a rendering of what the building's going to look like once it's finished. There is, to the right-hand side, there is the new pedestrian walkway. Adjacent to that is the new patio, and then the building extending out. We want to bring up the sign program. The sign program is a conceptual sign program at this time. They're allowed 1 freestanding sign not to exceed 1 square foot for each 1 square foot or 1 foot of lot frontage, so they're allowed 70 feet. And then identification signs are also allowed on the building at 3/4 square foot for each 1 foot of building frontage, so they're allowed 39.75, so about approximately 40 feet. Because it is a multi-tenant building, they will require a master sign program. They are allowed within the master sign program to arrange the signs how they would like, so they can combine that square footage and then redistribute it as needed. They do have an existing freestanding sign on the left-hand side of this slide. And staff has added a condition, condition number 11, that will require the applicant to work on a master sign program, and it will be reviewed at a staff level. The parking plan is subject to a reciprocal easement and maintenance agreement, which is a private agreement between multiple properties as seen on this slide. The existing parking requirement for the building is 58 parking spaces. It is accommodated on site currently. With the new project, there will be required 2 parking spaces for the first floor offices, 5 spaces for the cafe or restaurant extension, 5 spaces for the second floor offices, for a total of 12 parking spaces. Over the years, the parking ratio has decreased, so they actually have an excess of parking spaces on the property, and they can accommodate all the new requirement on their property as well. So they actually have an excess of 2 parking spaces, and therefore they meet the parking requirement. In conclusion, this project meets all the zoning requirements and required design findings. Therefore, staff is recommending that Planning and Transportation recommend approval of the project to City Council. And with that, I can answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is also here tonight.
Any question? We'll start with you, Caleb. Any questions?
Don't have it right now.
Ken?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Hi, Sierra, welcome.
Thank you.
Why does staff think the trash enclosure should not be moved?
We believe that the way it's positioned now, it's away from the residential uses, and placing it next to the residential uses with pickup and noise and possible odors, it may have more of an impact down at the end.
It would be good when you say something like that in the report, it would be good if you told us why, because that was a good answer.
Okay.
I have a second question, which has to do with, I know these are conceptual signs, but are the images that we're seeing, does that express with the size of the signs that are tentatively put on here within the limits of what you believe would be the maximum sizes for the total of the buildings, or are they too small or too large?
They may be too large. They are they're allowed 70 feet plus 40, so approximately 110 square feet. And they can distribute that as needed. They may have to redistribute and take some of these signs off, but this is conceptual for as far as, having a more prominent office, maybe an office name to the building, and then the signs for the cafe and the restaurant uses. So it's conceptual. They do need to work on a master sign program.
But that will be reviewed by staff,
Yes.
right, as part of that's one of the conditions.
I was just curious, because we're getting an architectural image, I didn't know how accurate it was.
Right, I was a little concerned about the signage too, but it looks like they've got that covered because they want to review the signage plan.
All right, and so I have 2 other comments. Lucky you. I was looking at, there's a comment that says that they were proposing a bicycle rack in the front, that the Wave bike rack is not a standard, not a city standard. My understanding that we talked about as an item here, having bicycle racks as objects of art, so that we shouldn't, I would like to say that if staff is saying that in order for this project to be approved, they have to change the bike racks to the ones that we don't necessarily like, perhaps we need to talk about that later. The other thing I want to ask about is, you said this property is completely compliant, but in fact, on page 6, you say it's not, because you say that there is a required 20-foot landscape buffer, and that you are proposing as a mitigation that there's enough significant trees, et cetera, that it's not critical, but in fact, that is to say, the rear yard buffer does not meet the minimum requirement of 20 feet. So I think you should correct your statement for us, and I will wait for the discussion for the rest of it. Thank you.
I had a question.
Okay.
And that's on the plans that we have on LA 11B, proposed site roof plan, or actually 11C. LA 11C, which is it's got the expansion, which is the elevator, and the layout options in the front. And in the back, they're going to reconfigure the back as well? Is that how I read that?
Yes.
And then along the sidewalk, they're going to add a wall. So currently, you can get from one end of the building to the other end underneath covered space, but with that elevator going in, they're going to block off the walkway. So essentially, somebody's going to have to walk out the parking lot and then walk back into the parking lot if they're coming from the back to the front. Is that my understanding?
The new offices, so that he's going to they're going to reconfigure the inside of the building, so there's going to be defined office spaces, so the access to that one is in the rear.
Right, but if you're currently in that lot, because I've been to that facility several times, you park in the very far back, and then you walk to the front, and along that walkway, and so now that walkway won't exist because they'll put an elevator lobby in there, and so they'll block that off, right? I mean, I just want to make sure I understood these drawings. Is that how you? That's correct. Okay.
All right, any other questions? Okay, can we hear from the applicant?
So thank you, Commissioner, for giving us the opportunity. My name is Vish Agarwal. I'm the owner of the VSK Group, and I bought this building in the last December. And it's an old building, and I wanted to bring it up to the standard of what I see across the street in Mountain View. There's a lot of new development, and when I bought this building, I wanted to make sure that this represents our new Los Altos, and bring this building up to the new standards. I wanted to also make sure that upstairs and downstairs both are ADA compliant right now. Upstairs, I'm one of the tenants there myself, and I'm not able to hire, new talent, or attract a lot of, those techies because they see this as an old building and, bathrooms which are small and, there's no elevator and all those kinds of things. So I thought this might be an opportunity for me to sort of, improve the building and attract new talent and, hire more people who can work for me upstairs. So there's also inefficient use of space, which we see, and, that brought me to Sanjeev Bhandari, who is my architect, and he's, I can't say enough about him, but great things. And, he's worked very hard with the planning department, especially Ciara Davis. She has been very, very supportive and helpful in guiding us throughout different phases of the project, and we're able to present this beautiful project in front of you because of the guidance which we got from Ciara Davis. So I'll give the floor to Mr. Sanjeev Bhandari to cover the rest of the presentation. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you very much for your time. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. I think Sarah has covered very well, but answering to Commissioners, a couple of the
Could you introduce yourself? What's your name and?
My name is Sanjeev Bhandari. I'm principal with BKBC Architects.
Okay, thank you.
The void currently which exists, the sidewalk or walkway, Commissioner has asked question about what creates the back side instead of a front side. So the idea is to create a space which is more positive on the parking. So that will, I think, eventually will bring even the glazing for the pizza place out if once they renew their lease, which is coming up pretty soon in a few months. And I think they will upgrade their space to fit in with this new image. I think it'll be very fantastic. We have designed for them 2-3 options of how their internal layout as well as external layout can improve the not only exterior appearance of the building, but interior layout and circulation, including their storage space and back half house spaces. Like Vish mentioned, the biggest impetus for us was to create, ADA compliance for both floors. that was the driving force. And in addition, do something nicer on the street face. And even though the pizza place is there, if you know, everybody who knows, they go there. But you don't even know, except for the big sign on the street. So the idea to build something in the front is to articulate, the facade in a nicer way. It's an old tilt-up structure, so not a whole lot can be done to the existing structure. So by adding that two-story expansion on the front, I think adds that, gives us opportunity to put nice materials and give it a brand-new facade. Trash enclosure, we're very comfortable with the staff's recommendation. Matter of fact, owner was saying, why are we moving it? Because it cost him more to move back. But the reason we moved it back was to say that you have a continuous parking. So the trash enclosure there is a parking on one side, another parking on the other side, it's in the middle. So from a pure planning point of view, our goal was to push it back, but we understand the concern with the residents, and we will be very happy to leave it where it is. Sign program will be brought up like you discussed before. It's not our intention to have these many signs. I don't think we will need them. Not knowing what will be the tenancy in terms of the front space, I think there will be only one sign, and it will be in the front. And then the fins we have created, which articulate not only the space, but gives us a second opportunity for the signage from a distance, I think will do it by itself. And then we will have a sign in the back because that's a different office space. So the back elevation, the rear elevation you're looking at, that will have the sign. And then the front elevation very likely along with the fin, but we will comply with the square footage and prepare a signage program.
Are you saying you probably won't have the monument sign in front?
No, not the monument, because right now we show sign, if you look at the north elevation, we have 3 signs on the left side. I don't think those are needed. So the corner is very visible. If you look at in 3D, sorry we didn't have any time to finish it, but there is a 3D view, what you see from the street side. There it is.
I just have a question. Do we have a sample board? Material board?
We do not.
We don't? It wasn't required, or?
They provided a materials and sample board within the plans.
Are you referencing 12?
Yes.
If Commission has any questions?
Any questions of the applicant?
Well, my question was going to be about the materials, because from looking at 12B, I can't quite tell what the stone panel is going to look like.
Do we have a materials board?
We
They
don't. What you didn't hear is there was no materials board submitted. It was included as a image in the plans.
It also describes a stucco with a smooth finish and two-tone color to replicate stone. And I can't quite figure what that is. You're going to have 2 different colors of stucco, because in this image, it just shows one solid color.
It's very hard to create that on a Photoshop, but it's very common in all the high-end products these days. What we're doing, it's a tone on tone. It's a one color, but its color has 2 hues, so it's applied twice, and it gives you a natural look of the stone rather than a stippled look or a flat stucco look. Everybody's moving towards that, so it gives a higher finish quality. We can submit the sample with the final design.
It would have been,
Well,
So
so we finished with the applicant? Do we have
no.
any people to speak?
any other questions for the applicant?
Not as yet.
Okay, we have one person that, thank you.
Thank you.
Make it. Michelle Barbera. Thank you.
Well, thank you for letting me come and speak tonight in this meeting. My name is Michelle Lababera. I am the daughter of Bernie and Doris Tugas, who have built the boardwalk and has been a longtime tenant at this building. We've owned and operated the restaurant for 38 years in the Los Altos community. Since my father passed 9 years ago, I've been involved in the business. My mother's still alive. She is the one who wrote the letter, which I'm not sure you were.
We have.
You have.
Got it.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you know, she's just not able to come to the meeting tonight due to her age, and so I came to represent us. We have some concerns over the building that Mr. Agarwal would like to build to this building, the addition, I should say. We are concerned that we will no longer have El Camino frontage. We have maintained that space for 38 years, and we have yet to be able to negotiate our first option of two. So we have 2 5-year options pending. We are down to the last 3 weeks to exercise that option.
Is the option based on current market rent?
It will be,
Okay.
correct. So, in that being said, we know that our rent will increase substantially. We have been in negotiations with him over the last 6 months. They kind of broke off a little bit. I've seen the design before, and we were just not able to come up with any numbers at that time as to what the rent would be. And we, we know the rent's going to increase. We're also being asked to take the additional 915 square feet. Obviously, we'd love to have El Camino front. That's what we bargained for when we signed up for a lease. But we're concerned. We're concerned with the rent increase as well as the additional square footage that we're asked to take. That would push us well over 5,000 square feet in that restaurant. If you've been in the restaurant, it's pretty big as it is. And we want to maintain. We want to stay in Los Altos, and we're trying to figure out how we can, remain in this building. I think it's important that I kind of point out, what the boardwalk, I think, offers to your community. We have built so many relationships in the town of Los Altos over 38 years. I believe that, if we had to leave, we'd be missed greatly. The boardwalk's a very unique place, and we offer a place for families to come, kids to come, preschoolers to come. Every sports team comes and hangs out and has a place to go. It's a reasonable place to have a meal as far as price. We have so many workers that come into the area that come to the boardwalk to eat lunch. Again, we're hoping to work out this agreement. We believe that if we give back to the community, they give back to us, and that's truly what we built for 38 years. We've supported the Los Altos Police Department, Foothill College, every preschool to high school there, and we want to be there. There's no doubt we want to be there. We do fundraising for every nonprofit and every group that we can. CHAC raised over $2,000 in that restaurant last year and gave back to the Los Altos families that needed it. However, we're 3 weeks away from exercising our option for the first 5 years.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Mm-hmm.
Generally, when you have options like that, if it's not in the leasing contract to get a rent survey, then the first thing you and/or the landlord should have done was to do a current market survey for comparable product and let that be the basis of negotiation. Has that been done?
That has been done on our part, and that will be the decision. We have till January 30th to start our option. And then we have done that. I don't know what Mr. Agarwal has done, but we did have a professional real estate appraisal done, and I believe what fair market value is going to be. We have yet to be able to negotiate that with him. And so there's unknowns, because then I'd love to take the 915 square feet. I want to stay El Camino front, but I don't know how to do it when I don't know what the end result's going to be for this business. So I'm asking you to postpone it so we can sit down and negotiate our deal so this restaurant can stay in your community, because I'd love to stay. I feel like we're a big part of Los Altos. And, we're just kind of up against this 3-week deadline. And again, oppose it or delay it, because I'm afraid the building will go in front of us, and we're no longer El Camino front. If you look at the elevation, you can see us only from the side. You no longer see us out front anymore.
Well, as has been pointed out to me, and as is correct, this commission cannot, we only get to look at and vote on
Design.
the product that comes to us. And we can't get involved in the negotiations of a tenant and a landlord and put off a decision based on architectural favors rather than, I asked to see, only out of being polite, to see whether or not you've at least took the right course, and I was going to steer you in a direction.
Oh,
but,
I know.
But
We're aware
we
of
can't
it.
get involved and delay decisions based on,
Well, I thought it was important to come and voice my opinion about the business, and hopefully we can stay there, and maybe somebody in the city will get involved in it and hear us, because we are a big part of it. And I want to stay. I want to be able to stay here for the next 10 years.
I get it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very much. I think we all heard you. Have any questions of the applicant?
Close.
Okay. I'm going to close public hearing. Okay, now, discussion? Who wants to start? Michael?
Oh, sure.
Start at your end.
Well, I was going to ask a question, because I was confused. I heard during the presentation that the trash facility is going to be left alone, or it's going to be left alone?
It's going to be cleaned up, but it's going to stay in the same location.
Where it is, okay.
To protect the residential area behind.
I don't have really much to say. I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm disappointed we don't have a materials board.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's hard to say what this thing's going to look like when we don't know what the material looks like.
So my thought on that is we need to have a materials board.
I concur.
And material matters, color matters, as we discovered in the San Antonio project. Color really matters. And when I look at this, I see yellow on this image, and I'm pretty sure that that's not what they're going for. But I would throw out the idea of postponing it till we get a proper material board that shows what we're going to be approving, because if our purpose is to approve the design, I don't know what it looks like based on, the image of a stone panel. It's just a color.
I thought we had required all applicants to submit a materials board for commercial projects. I thought that was our standard now.
It is our standard.
Okay, so what you're telling me is this is an incomplete application.
We had expected they would bring the materials and that these would be sufficient for the plans.
Okay. So,
Unfortunately, we don't have the materials.
so it's an incomplete application before the Planning Commission.
So we have no choice. I move that we continue this application to a date uncertain? Do we have, until the application is complete?
Hey, I want to add one thing, though. You actually picked up on a comment that I was going to make at the end, since if you're asking them to come back, which I think, we all up here like the project. We want that improvement there, and we have other things that we have on our minds, but if you're going to come back, I really would like to see some sort of a sidewalk connection around that elevator, if possible.
So I have a question. I personally am in favor of continuing this because if it is not complete and we don't have a material board, but I'm wondering if we can serve the applicant by providing comment.
Right.
Because there may be some other things the applicant will wish to take into consideration before they come back.
I agree, because I'll rather not
I agree.
that it gets further delayed. Just
Right.
if you have to give them some feedback, I think it's good to give it now.
Okay. Because I certainly have some comments, and
Okay.
it sounds like
So you're-
a number.
So can I
Number two
continue with my
after that.
So,
comments?
now, would you like to make some comments, Mike?
Oh, Michael, we're still with it, believe it or not.
Thank you. Well, the other thing that I was trying to figure out, and it's on 11.1.1, is the planning for the area, because it seems like there's a lot of, well, we're going to put this kind of stuff, but I know in other plans we've had very detailed of what those plants look like, what the shrubbery, if it says here it's high shrubs such as rosemary, but I don't know if it really is or is not.
An actual landscape plan? you mean?
Yeah, that an actual landscape plan would show where all the different material, what kind of plants are going
With
to be.
a plant list.
Right.
I mean, this is a landscape plan, but you'd like it to have a plant list,
Like, yeah,
okay?
that was my other comment.
Okay?
So I have a number of comments. Phoebe raised the question about the bicycle rack, and I had the same issue, which is, I'm in favor of bicycle racks. I'm not necessarily in favor of ugly bicycle racks, and so I'm personally inclined to encourage applicants to find interesting bicycle racks, and I don't know where our disconnect is with staff, because the staff report discusses the fact that the wave is not a approved design. Is there something other than our standard which we can give an applicant latitude on, David?
We can. The city has our standard bike rack, the horseshoe rack, but the council has approved a policy that will allow, on a case-by-case basis, racks that are topical, that are related to the design or architecture or theme of the building in some way.
Okay.
So they definitely could pursue that.
So the wave is not approved, but topical is?
Well, who's to say the wave is not
long as
topical
it's
in
not-
this case?
I don't know. I'm,
As long as as long as there's no signage on the rack itself, it can be anything.
okay.
That's pretty much the policy.
They've defined it as an artistic
Right.
policy related to the development.
Okay.
And the other thing that, what's kind of in that line is if there's a lot of people that bike there, I don't know, because it's on El Camino. I wasn't sure how much bike traffic there was, but, just having one rack versus a series of racks would help foster that kind of. And I don't know, it seems like it's a bike rack, but is that just one rack for two bikes and that's it?
That would meet the minimum standards, the VTA guidelines. We certainly could require more if we wanted. We felt that was appropriate.
Okay.
El Camino is a bike route. It's not marked, though, with a lane.
It's sort of like roadkill, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I would
It might be a
characterize
bike
it-
route, but it's a little tough to use
Yeah, a
in reality.
little tough to navigate. We have a general condition number 6 about the developer indemnifying the city with regard to state, federal court challenges. But it's from, and I'm not a lawyer here and I don't play one, but it seems to me that the city should ask the applicant to indemnify them from any claims about taking all the parking. Because basically, this project takes away the development rights of any of the other buildings that share the parking unless they either build a parking garage or build underground. And I would think, and Jolie's not here, that that language might be appropriate. I realize the city doesn't get involved, but it still doesn't prevent somebody from saying, you know what, you let them
Look past
develop
it.
it, and, we've lost economic value. In terms of the actual design, first the general comment, anything is an improvement over what's there now.
Low bar.
It's a very low bar. However, with that said, I'm not in favor of buildings that look like they should be flapping their wings, so I'm sort of not real happy with the wings on this building. I don't think they add, I think they detract, I think an element can be done, but more subtly than what's been proposed here. The other comment I want to make is that we cannot get between a landlord and a tenant. But if the new Los Altos, and I as I said earlier, I think this is a great new change in terms of the building. But if a new Los Altos means that we lose the things that make Los Altos special, then we haven't made any progress. And that's not good. You know, we're seeing other longtime establishments in this town disappear. European cobblery, design and interiors, bon séjour. I don't consider that progress as a community. And I understand that, you know, we need to update buildings. I understand we need to make progress, but we need balance. We need to maintain the feel, the character, some of the traditions in this town if we're going to maintain what makes us special. I'm not interested in us becoming Mountain View. We are different. We need to cherish that difference. Those are my comments.
Any suggestions on how to do that?
No, in terms, you know, the applicant and the tenant have to work that through. I mean, you know, the issue of how that gets done is not within our purview. But I think it's important that we find that balance between moving the city forward and finding ways to keep things that are important and important community values.
And isn't there a
Not certain
design,
how this council can affect that, but
but isn't there a design, you know, guidelines for, like, we have the downtown core, I don't know about the El Camino core, whether there's a design, you know, certain style that has been trying to, been created? I mean, that's to your point, right? That it's Los Altos in this area, and what does Los Altos on El Camino look like versus the downtown corridor?
well, I think that the real problem is that you get involved in ownership and tenant rights.
Well, you
It's-
can't.
it's-
And we
That's-
can't do
That's
that.
not our
That's-
purview.
That's the point.
And
We
that's-
can't do that. And
I think he's talking about elevation.
That
But
wasn't my point.
But I'm talking about what the building should look like,
Okay.
right?
Well, and I will speak to that since I'm the next person on the dais.
Hi,
And
Phoebe.
so I have to
Good
say,
lead-in.
yes, thank you. Wings fly very well with me, and so when you have a 7-person commission, you're going to get differences, and John and I are in difference in this one because I like the fact that it's sort of, how shall I say, postmodern looking or mid-century modern looking. It's trying to do something, which I think it can succeed. I definitely miss the materials board because I concur with my other commissioners that it's hard to tell what it looks like because computers lie. Garbage in, garbage out. For me, this is personal, we have the experience of San Antonio Center with unusual colors. That's one end of the spectrum. Here's one where the colors are incredibly, on the other end, remarkably bland. And one of the things that we do look for in design review is buildings of high quality and architectural strength. I think that the forms have architectural strength, but I would like to see the materials have a little more interest, even inferring from the documents we have from tan, and beige. I think we can do better. I believe that the bicycle rack, the wave, I could support saying that the wave is topical for this building for the same reason. It is mid-century modern looking and is a piece of art. And maybe if there were 3 of them in a row, we would encourage kids to bike there as a group from their scout troop, for example. And at the same time, you'd have empty waves acting as a piece of art. There's an opportunity for art here. I concur with the commissioners that we do not get into tenant relationships, but I have to say that once you eliminate the El Camino street frontage from what is the boardwalk now, it may make that particular location more difficult to rent, and we do like to have stable rental in town because it's good for the community. And so there's a reason for the applicant and the tenant to negotiate more because they are a good usage for the building, which could probably be sustained without frontage, whereas a newcomer might not be able to. So there's an economic value to the town in keeping them. I asked about the signage in particular because I liked the image, this sort of mid-century modern signage, and I liked the scale of it in the drawing, and that's why I asked Sierra if that was within the sign limits, because I know sometimes it's hard to make that work. But I think this is a good support of the design concept, which, again, I think is sort of mid-century modern, and I think would be kind of cool. That's all I have to say, except I support the idea of having the continuous sidewalk because it rains here once in a while, and it's hotter than hell once in a while, and it would be nice to be able to get out of it.
So Phoebe, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because this building, to me, with the choice of materials, doesn't read mid-century modern.
Hence
And-
the question
and-
for the materials board.
And so, if the building materials were mid-century modern, I might be more amenable to the building, but right now, I feel like I've got something that doesn't go together.
Well, actually, I could make a case for both, so let's see what happens at the far end of the
Okay,
table.
all right.
Renee, you want?
I agree with the comments. I'd like to see a plant list. I would encourage interesting bike racks. I thought your comment about connecting the elevator to the pedestrian area was also important. And I think having the materials will help a lot. I'm a little concerned about just the vast expanse of the wall of the south elevation. It's not facing the back of the lot. You actually see that from
The other
El
direction.
Camino, and it's just sort of this vast expanse of wall, all in one color. And I wonder if something can be done there to make it less blank.
Just like the downtown plan, we try to, you can take a wall like that and make it into multiple little pieces of it that look
Yeah,
like
and maybe you do that through
different buildings.
landscaping, make it a living wall, or just put
Yeah, and the Arts
Green
Commissioner always
in
says
that
to us,
space.
get more art in public places. This is an
right. So
opportunity
I
for
would
art in public
suggest that
places.
on the south elevation that they incorporate green into
Yeah.
those huge expanse.
Mosaic.
Maybe color and maybe art.
Okay. Ken?
I guess I'm in general agreement with my fellow commissioners. I'm not opposed to the design. I actually kind of like the design. I have been an Oasis and Boardwalk customer for many years, and I think the building, any upgrade to that building would be a major improvement to Los Altos in many ways. I guess I don't feel that strongly about the connection of the sidewalk. I don't, or the blank side of the building. I think the building has been that way for a long time, and I don't know that it needs to be upgraded in this go-around. But I do think the materials board, having that back here, it would be very worthwhile, since we really don't know exactly what the colors are going to be, and the renderings aren't very accurate. So I can support the project, but I guess I'd like to see a little bit more detail, both with the plantings and the material board.
So before I give my comments, I just have a quick question. Where is the mechanical equipment? Is it going to be on the roof?
Yeah, it's on.
Yes.
And it's hidden. There's a parapet that hides it.
Yeah. You have a 2-foot parapet. Correct?
They talk about that in the report.
I know.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you,
It's only 2 feet.
it's in the staff report.
I think staff covered it in the report. The mechanical system stays, it's already there, it's tucked back in the backside, and it has a box cover on it.
Yeah, no, my question was, are you upgrading it? Is it going to get any bigger than what it is right now? Okay.
Yeah, it still function, the office space still function as is.
Okay, perfect. My concern was going to get huger, and the parapet is not that deep. So, couple of things. I know we're not getting into the leasing agreements and things, but I just want to point one thing out. It is unfortunate that the addition is going to be in front of the existing restaurant, but I think if you, for the time being, and I know it might be tough, but if you kind of took a step back and just take in what's about to happen, even if you didn't rent that 900 square feet in front, I personally think it's going to be a bonus. And the reason is, yes, the place is there. I've been in the city now 10 years. I've come there a few times, but it doesn't attract me to go to that location just because of how interesting the existing building is. I don't want to take the kids there. It's just not in a very attractive place. I think if you looked at it a little bit more positively, and if the owners also kind of, rather than, and again, this is just a personal opinion, we are not here stating anything where you guys have to do this, but rather than forcing the existing restaurant to take over, something which they might not be able to. But from your point of view, if you guys have a new restaurant in the front, that really doesn't mean that nobody will come to your restaurant. And the thing is, different kind of foods actually open the opportunity for more customer base. So I think it'll be more of a positive. You might not have the frontage to El Camino, but you'll definitely get more marketing out of an updated building with maybe a new restaurant in front, which will do marketing. So you'll actually get more, people coming. So just on a positive side, I think it'll be a positive impact to the business rather than a negative one. I like the building design. I do have an issue with the south elevation. I know it's existing, but you have an opportunity. I know a couple of us up here can visualize the material boards, or at least the material of stucco that you've proposed here. So you are going for something which is high-end, but the south elevation just kind of looks like a massive cinema or a parking building. And I don't think that's what you all are going for. So if you have the opportunity, it'll be great when you come back. You can show a little bit improvement. And I think in the past, El Camino is such a busy street, and we have so much happening there that we kind of don't look at buildings in as much detail as we do in downtown. And I think all of us up here are where we want to look at it as deeply as we do in downtown, because I think it'll give you a better project. So I think if you can look at the south elevation, that'll be great. And I agree with my fellow commissioners that some of the color schemes that are up here, especially the one you've mentioned, the limestone versus marble, those two materials are quite different when you see them in real life. So really take a hard look at what material you guys will be using and bringing back to us. So it's more of a richer building rather than just a flat, dull finish. So to me, that's more important than anything else what's happening on that property. So.
Okay. I don't think I'm going to comment on the landscaping and the bike rack and the material board. I think you got that. But I'm going to share my experience, whether or not it's wanted or not. I'm a landlord, and I'm a partnership in about 3 million square feet of retail. And I can tell you that the most difficult tenant to keep longevity on is restaurants. Restaurants come and go more than any other tenant, whether it be office or, and if I had a tenant that had been in a property for 38 years, I would absolutely find a way to keep that tenant. And if I were you, sir, I would work hard on trying to do that, very hard. To find a tenant to replace them, you're flipping a coin. You really are. And no matter what someone comes in and says they're going to do, they've done it. And I wouldn't let them go. So this peace of mind. I don't think that the 921 square feet in front is going to hurt your business. I'm just saying, I'm just being honest about this. Your business is not a drive-by business. You've been there for 38 years. People know you're there. You're not a new business trying to establish yourself where you're looking for what I call drive-by views. Oh, there's a restaurant that's new, let's try that. People from their living room or their office say, I'm going to the boardwalk. They all know you. So by your erasing the visibility from El Camino, I don't personally think it's going to hurt you at all. You're still going to have probably the largest sign there because you'll be the biggest tenant. And after 38 years, we all know where the boardwalk is. I mean, we all have kids, so I'm just encouraging more communication between the two of you, for you to be fair in what your requirements are, and for you to be open to the possibility that this could be a good thing for you.
I'll be happy to send 2 or 3 lines
No, there's no, it's not a comment, it's just a suggestion, it's not a debate, so. I'm open for,
Well, Sarah, my question is, do we vote, I mean, this is kind of, do we vote for the extension, or do we vote on what's been here, or do we ask the applicant?
I left a motion on the table which wasn't seconded, which was to continue this
Second.
application. It's now
Yeah.
seconded because it's an incomplete application.
Right.
So what we did as a courtesy is we offered suggestions so that they don't have to spin their wheels, come
We can
back, and
complete
then
this the
hear
next
it.
time.
And if, the thing is, we can't continue it to a date certain because we don't know when they'll be prepared to do that. So all we can do is, the motion is to continue this application to a date uncertain until it can be completed.
and it's been seconded.
And John
John
seconded.
seconded.
Okay, I think we've had discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's it, thank you.
And I would highly encourage that if you want, you can meet with planning commissioners on their own to get some feedback if needed.
Minutes, leave it on.
Minutes, done,
I think we have one.
conditions done. This is a paperwork business, isn't it? Okay. Discussion items, Ceres Regis, 4750 El Camino Real.
I think I'll pause for a minute while they're setting up and the room is clearing.
Look,
So,
you asked for
David,
material
on the
board
boards
and they
behind you, is one of them existing and the other one?
Just makes it easier. We should have it by the
Yes,
And which ones, I mean, just so we know before.
yeah, they'll,
They know.
David,
Is any
is it possible for us to walk down and look at the boards now before we get?
oh, absolutely, if you want to take a recess.
I'd like to, is that okay, Mr. Chair?
Wait, he's going to tell us which one's
Yeah, let's
which.
do that, yeah.
This is the formal board. This is the original board, and this is our new and improved board.
Okay.
I like
Yeah.
the way he said
2030
improve.
rather than 30.
It's already getting
30
us.
is that what that's called?
New and improved. board.
2030 or something like that?
Yes, Jerry, yeah.
So this is what it used to be.
This is the original.
That's the 3030, right?
Yeah, they call it, well, this is actually true smooth.
My goodness, I think how tall you want
Again, we're going to walk you through all the changes. I know it's good to kind of point out very close. Yeah.
It's a tag team.
It's like, why would you not bring a material board? You should always bring.
So were you on commission when this came through the first time?
This one? Yes.
Were you on this commission when it came through? No. Ken wasn't. Were you on commission when this came through?
Of course.
Okay.
I think all three of us, all four of us, maybe.
Oh, Hudasic. H-U-D-A-C-E-K.
HED?
H-U-D.
Oh,
Hudasic. Yep. I know.
Okay.
I'm moving forward on this like speed of lighting though. This project is going so fast.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Okay, is everybody here?
Yeah.
Okay. Staff report, please.
Yes, thank you. This is a design change to the Colonnade project there on El Camino Real. It's under construction, and the applicant has approached us with a change of the stucco material. The building was approved with a smooth sand finish, integral color, cement plaster siding, and they're proposing a change to a textured stucco that would be painted. And so we thought this was a qualitative change that warranted the commission's review. And so we're forwarding that to you for your consideration. And as you've seen, they have both materials available, and we'll kind of walk you through their thinking and why they're proposing that change. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Question?
I have a question. David, from staff's perspective, was there anything special about the smooth stucco finish that we should be aware of in terms of concern going from the smooth to a rough finish? And part of the reason I'm asking is, granted I'm blind as a bat, but, from 20 feet away, which is where I am right now, you could put a gun to my head and I probably couldn't tell you which one was which.
Can we try that?
Question with that?
Putting the gun to the head,
Did
or?
you see how fast he just
How fast he could move.
freshened up?
Okay.
That was not it was an opportunity for Ken to make a snide comment. It's not an opportunity for you to offer to shoot me. Yeah.
Certainly, the original material, I think, was we saw it as more traditional in its quality with the sort of it was very contemporary architecture, but it has some sort of Mediterranean, sort of Spanish roots in it, and the smooth plaster seemed to go with that.
With a traditional Mediterranean style.
Yes, and but this is definitely a more contemporary architecture, and the textured stucco fits in with that as well. I think some people look at the smooth textured stucco as having a higher quality. It's a rather subjective, term, and so that's why we're really bringing it to you without a recommendation one way or the other.
Because nobody will ever mistake this building for a Santa Barbara original building, right? I mean, it's not.
We're not in Santa Barbara.
Anymore. So, David, I guess I kind of agree with your assessment that the smooth finish, and I don't know exactly why, but it does kind of have the flavor of a little bit higher quality. The rough finish doesn't quite project the sophistication of the smooth finish somehow, and I don't know the right words to use. But I think from a practical consideration, and I think that's what everyone is getting at least it was what the architects were getting at. All three architectural firms wrote letters suggesting that the maintenance of the smooth finish is going to be really problematic. They're going to probably within 5 years experience cracking, and it's going to be difficult to maintain, and after a while it won't look good. So it might look good when it's brand new, but it just won't look good after a while.
See, I'm seeing it just the opposite. I'm looking at the smooth as almost adding mass to my eyes, even if it's the same size as the other, because this sort of breaks it up for me.
But this is not a comment to ask a staff a question. This is the beginning of discussion, so perhaps we should
Then we
have the
have the-
applicant.
Oh, and
have
the
the
applicant
kind
too,
words.
yeah. Okay.
If I can.
Ken, did you have any more other questions for David?
No, I just was, the question was, the main basis of the recommendation, as I understood it, was because the smooth was just going to be more difficult to maintain over time, and eventually it would deteriorate, and it really wouldn't look, no matter how good it looked in the beginning, it wasn't going to look very good after a while.
Well, let's hear what Jeff has to say.
And with
Okay,
that,
Jeff,
and with that,
walk us through.
Well, before I start, I just want to say, considering the last application, we brought you 2 material boards.
Yeah,
tonight.
we're impressed.
So-
You should have rolled them one. You could have lent them one and saved them a lot of trouble.
You could have lent them one of the material boards.
Exactly. So good evening, commissioners, and I would say members of the public, but I've got my team here. So my name is Jeff Smith with Saris Regis, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight and actually give you kind of an update on Colonnade, because there's a lot of good stuff here and then an issue here that we want to try to resolve. So in the last 18 months, since really I've seen the commission, and we've made a lot of progress, and many of you have probably driven by the site and know this very well. About 18 months ago, we got the project approved. Obviously, we closed on the land. We've completed our demo and grading. About 55,000 cubic yards were taken out of that pit. And we've actually substantially completed the 2-story underground garage that will include 323 parking stalls. We received our building permit in August of this year, and we've started framing. So we've got wood framing you've probably seen going up. We've got structural steel coming in. The vitamin shop, boy, that's a tricky little building. That's remodels going. And right now we're projecting our first leasing to be next fall. These are probably padded a little bit. I'd like to get open next summer, and with first move-ins definitely next year. So in addition to progress on the site, since we last saw you, we also made great progress on the design, from kind of the schematic design, 2D, great image. This was really the image that we all focused on and wanted to say we'd like to really take to the rest of the building, to design development, and to, complete construction drawings. And now, the design is 100% complete. We have our permits, and we have a beautiful rendering. And actually, we're going to use this rendering and probably some 3D renderings as part of our lease-up and marketing. So like any good design, refinements and improvements have been made, and we'll walk through these refinements. But one of the things that we discovered during the design process and constructability really was that the smooth trowel finish really was not a good application for this project. It was going to have major issues, really, and I'll go through why we think that, and that's going to really impact the appearance long-term and also durability or viability. First, the size of our building. We're a 4-story building, up to 350 feet long, definitely broken up, but it's a large building. This is not a single-family home or a single-story element that we could confine the smooth trowel. We started to look at just the overall expanses, and if we did have to go to a smooth trowel, you're talking about a significant amount of control joints. And if you can kind of picture control joints that go sometimes, at the floor level or between and around windows where cracking really happens, you can picture this building really being cut up and taking what we really feel is kind of a contemporary spin, and Alex Seidel, our architect, will let you give a little input there, kind of a contemporary spin on a mission architecture to a very contemporary building. And so we didn't feel that fit the appearance that we were going for. Second, just the type of construction. I mentioned we've got a concrete garage, we've got structural steel elements and wood framing, all have different capabilities and different really contraction and expansion dimensions to them, and this is only going to increase and pronounce the cracking. Long-term appearance, some of these photos, this one, the other ones you could really see pretty well. This one is really, long-term appearance is going to be a problem. This is not only for our residents and guests, but really for the community as a whole. And of course, there's the long-term maintenance and viability. And actually, I'm going to not break really quickly, but I do have a handout today. I'd like to do this and kind of tell you about. Pass that on. So I was out on the site today, and I just happened to be kind of driving around downtown, driving around the other projects being built in the area. This is actually 2 photos, if you could hand that out to the commissioners, from the Los Altos Gardens project, just around the corner, 960 San Antonio. Project completed 2 years ago and has smooth stucco at the ground level. They're already replacing that smooth stucco. They've got major cracking. We noticed this when we were doing our design. I talked to the contractors, and they just said it's normally you don't want to repaint a building 4 to 7 years out. They're replacing the whole skin at 2 years. And I asked him if he's going to do the whole building. Right now they said they're just doing that first level for that kind of appearance that people really is bothersome. But clearly it was kind of very timely that I drove by that site today. So we're very concerned, and that's why we're bringing up the problem tonight, but we do have a solution, and actually, the solution is a premium finish called 2030. It's a fine sand. It's not what traditionally you'll see out in the marketplace is called a 1620, and that's the picture you see, the element to the right, and that's actually stucco that's being put in the more even rougher finish on your $1 million condos and townhouses going up in Los Altos right now. We've used the 1620 on other projects. It's fine, but for Los Altos, we realized that we wanted to put in a better finish. So we have proposed, a more premium finish, and that is the 2030. And with that, I'd like to hand it off to our architect, Alex Seidel. He's going to walk you through some of the, part of the solution really is the other elements to the design, because this building is much more than just stucco, and I think the combination of all the elements will hopefully still give you the confidence in this project and just the beautiful design that Alex has come up with.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's good to be here again. Over the past year and a half, since we got the project approved, the architectural team has been diligently working to execute the design that we presented to you. And I think that the final product is going to be consistent with the design intent that we presented to you. You may recall that there's an enriched package for the most visible parts of the project that face El Camino and wrap into the courtyard where the primary entry is. And so just to sort of reiterate what those are, we still have the limestone base, and that's been fully detailed. We have a lot of wood trellises and wood detailing on eaves and corners. That all remains. The metal canopies and ornamental railings have been detailed and incorporated. The windows that in the courtyard and facing El Camino are actually recessed, and they also incorporate precast sills. The cementitious siding at the top that forms kind of an attic course is there. We have the concrete tile on the roof, and so all of these materials are here on the board. I do think that the 2030 is the right direction for the stucco finish. I think it's the right balance of a refined finish. I actually like a little bit of texture. I think it's going to make the plaster actually seem a little more even. That texture just sort of evens things out. It's a big building, and it is going to keep the building. It's going to be a reduced number of control joints. And I think the control joints are really something that's not a traditional element. It's something that's necessary in contemporary construction. So to the extent that we can reduce those and have them just fall in logical locations rather than subdividing pieces of wall, I'm very much in favor of that, and I think ultimately that's kind of the best effect for the building. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I have a technical question. Is it that the 2030, it still cracks, it's just less visible? You don't notice it because of the texture?
Yeah, there will still be some hairline cracking, but it's much less apparent.
If I could add just one thing. So the other thing with the smooth trowel finish is just picture the application. The smooth trowel is an application by laborers putting it on with pressure onto the building, where the 2030 is sprayed on at a much more even, like Alex says, application. Part of the problem that has been discovered is that you can't always get the perfect amount of pressure, and that's what causes some of the undulating that you see. So what happens on these wood frame buildings especially, wood is not perfectly straight like you would maybe with a concrete building or a steel building. You're going to have some of that, and that's not sometimes very attractive. The other thing with repairs with the smooth siding is a big problem because picture that wall and there's a repair right in the middle of it. Instead of repairing just a foot around that thing, because of the hard trowel system, you basically have to trowel that whole wall just to get the new consistency and then paint over it. Whereas the sand finish, just like any drywall finish, like you've maybe done in your home repairs, you can get a nice little touch up basically to do that nice little repair, and it really avoids the problems that Los Altos Gardens is finding out, is that they're redoing the whole building, so.
For Alex, I had a quick question, if I could. This is just by the way. So these will not be, it won't be a Spanish tiled roof. It will be a red tiled roof, but it will
It's,
be.
it's a flat,
But it's a flat
concrete
tile.
tile, yeah.
So it's not.
It's flat, right.
It's not the classical Spanish tile roof.
No, no. And that's kind of how we always thought of it from the beginning.
I'm sorry?
I said it was always flat from the beginning.
I couldn't, I do remember seeing all the drawings. I could not remember, and when I saw what you had written here, it kind of jogged my memory.
Mike, a question.
Well, I have a building in town, and I've got that kind of finish on it, and I think it looks good, and I don't have any repairs on it, so.
Statistical sample of one. So do we,
Do we make a motion? I mean, is there
We
a
can
conversation?
discuss.
I'm like,
Comments?
If there's unless there's any comments, I'm open for a motion.
well, I have to, before you make a motion, I have to say that I met ex parte with the applicant because they have larger scale samples of this material, the proposed and the original, on their site. And since I had not been on commission at the time this was originally approved, I went out to see it today. I didn't make any comments of substance, I just listened, and I would be willing to support a motion.
And I'm just going to ditto that ex parte conversation with the applicant as well.
Same.
and I had an ex parte conversation
Who
over
else?
the
Fess
phone.
up.
That's all.
Thank you for saying that.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the change in materials as proposed by the applicant.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, you got it. Okay, thanks. You're going to be finished before December, Jeff. Come on. Where you are now?
This is the part that goes fast, it slows down later.
No problem. So now are we into commissioners' reports?
Who went when?
So the council meeting, I had talked with James. There
That's
was
right.
nothing there.
Okay.
So I didn't have to go. So I was so happy.
That's all right.
I went to Yosemite
You
instead.
took my place.
Yes, and you took mine, and we both didn't have
That's
to go.
right.
That's awesome.
Okay, any other commissioner reports that I'm missing? I don't think there is. Okay, any potential future agenda items?
I just have a comment about our speaker earlier tonight
Labadie.
regarding parking.
Ron Labitich?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I was a little taken aback. I forgot who said what, but I think there was some mention about that we should get, I think maybe John, you said that we should get plans ready for when the time comes. I think every project which has come in front of us, we are way behind.
Yeah.
I mean,
Time
I
is
thought
now.
you were saying they should have a plan ready and let's start construction. I mean, every project we've gotten, we've had major issues with parking. So I don't know if there's something we can take to council, if there's something we can look at, but in my eyes, we are way behind. I mean, we should have a parcel,
I
we
would
should have
agree- I would
a
agree with you
permit,
that.
and we should have budget, and we should be constructing as we speak.
I actually feel.
Because I think we are, and especially with the downtown, how amazingly fast everything is going, and it's exciting.
Well,
It's going to
but
come
I
to a
think the-
full stop
His
when
question
everything is built.
Ron stopped by my office this afternoon, called me and asked me if he could speak to me. And I'm the one that suggested he come in. You know, instead of my speaking.
I'm just
to him,
asking, what is
he
our
come in.
step? Is this something?
So
let
we
me-
really can't discuss the issue, but we can agendize
That's
a
what I'm
discussion of parking or
But
ask staff
I guess-
to supply us with a copy of the most recent parking report.
The $157,000 report that we got.
Well, I guess that's my question for staff, right?
What can we do?
Is there anything we can do? I mean, I'm listening to I've
question.
been to this public comment as a public speaker to say, I don't think this plan is adequate enough, but it got to city council and they've pretty much,
And actually, if you read in today's Daily Post, I think it was, there was an article from Palo Alto where a former planning commissioner said that she was uncomfortable and had been for many years at the fact that the studies that seemed to come through said there was no problem. And whatever the mode of deciding whether there's a problem or not, she said exactly the same thing we say here, that we get reports, and somehow the reality of the situation that the report says does not seem to reflect what is the common.
Well, that was my public comment in the parking study, was that the 100 Main Street, which was counted in the parking inventory, would not be there when construction started, which is what's happened. And now you say, okay, let's look
It's all
at parking
redundant.
study of what's in parked versus what, without that element. And that never got.
I agree. I mean, we're the Planning and Transportation Commission, yet, I don't know, I feel almost
I feel like we
slighted
have
that
no-
we weren't even
And
included.
parking is driving everything that
Everyone
comes in
agrees,
front of
yeah.
us. Parking is driving
So the-
every development in town.
So the question I have for staff is,
Can we
is
make a
there
difference?
Yeah, can we make a difference, or is there something we can do, or is there something that we don't know which is about to happen? I mean, I'm just curious, can we do
And
something?
David, you look like a deer in headlights.
Anything, anything.
You answer that in 30 words.
So the question is really, is there, what's going on with parking and
Yeah, is there any plans to
on
make
your side?
anything ever?
And can we affect that? I'd like to know if we can affect it.
I
I
don't
mean,
think.
certainly the commission could take up the topic and discuss this report, provide their input to the council. Certainly, the tone of just this discussion of a future agenda item will communicate something to the council, but you could certainly put it on as a topic and have a discussion. There's nothing on the table more
Is-
than what you.
is the
than
parking
you
study
know. We don't-
approved?
We don't, pardon me?
Was the parking study approved by city council, or was it just
Yes.
given to them? So it's already been approved?
Yeah, they've accepted the study.
They accepted-
Now, what we do with it,
So Malcolm, let me just correct something for the record. I got up and as a private resident said, the city needs to build a parking garage. I said, I understand that there are people who have concerns about whether there's a need for it, but that the most important thing now is to define exactly where the parking garage is going, cost it out, do all the things, and if there's any debate about it, have those discussions, but you can't just continue to wait. So I was not advocating waiting, I was advocating
No, I
doing
know.
something, but I also understood that there were several people on council who were reluctant to spend the money, despite the fact that we got a big chunk of money from Packard Foundation
For that.
and a couple of other places, which could actually go a long way towards funding a self-standing, standalone
So
parking
my
garage.
other question then is, and again, it might be my ignorance, and everybody can help me here. We are Planning and Transportation Commission. Is there any way, rather than all of us going in loop and spending city's money on having an agenda and then looking at it and sending it to them and they'll look at it or not, can we just do a joint meeting and have a discussion and see where everybody is on this? Can't we meet with the council as Planning Commission and
Do we have
have a study session or
Are
whatever
we
you call it?
scheduled for a joint meeting with council in the beginning of the next year? April.
I don't know if I want to wait that long, personally.
So,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
like the
it just looks
idea-
like we are going in circles and there's a lot of money being spent, just like, it's not just us being here, they're here, the lights are on and everything. But, I mean, if you just sit down and just discuss it and
You
see where
think
we are-
that? And I sat on, I can't tell you how many downtown commissions where that's all we talked about. We had study after study after study.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lack of information. I believe that this is a policy issue, and the question is, can we affect policy? And I really don't know.
So
I mean, I think
Renette
Mike
was
is
going to
more,
say something.
where John is affected. You go and you
Phoebe,
talk to them.
I agree with you exactly. I don't think I don't think it's our job to affect policy. I mean, we're not a policy-making body. And I think, I also believe that you're exactly right, that there's plenty of information. Everyone knows what the problem is, and they know there are 2 or 3 possible solutions, and no one's doing anything about it. And we can certainly do it as private citizens, but I don't think this commission,
as planning-
I don't think
So-
we have
so
any.
my-
Renette has
Here-
something to
here's-
say. I'd like to
here's my
interrupt
thought.
because I'd like
I'm
to
sorry?
hear-
Ronit's been waiting.
Here's my
I'm sorry,
thought
that's something.
on this. I think that as the Planning Commission, we should communicate how lack of parking affects the ability of projects to get planned in the town. And the way I see it, some of the big problems are that folks who are underparked are paralyzed from doing any development because there is no
Overflow, there's
plan
nothing.
for them. There's no parking in lieu solution. There's no way for them to overcome. So we are freezing projects from happening.
So
And
we
then
sh-
at the same time, projects that are coming to us that are good projects, that if there was some way for them to, I mean, I just keep going to a parking in lieu because that's what other towns do when they don't have a solution. Then this is a real effect on our committee and the projects that we're seeing that we can communicate. And, 2 years ago when I joined this commission, the first thing that I learned about was this big parking project that was about to happen that had been approved, and there was a study and a commission, and it feels like we're going backwards. We're like on an escalator and we're running up it,
So,
and
so
we should communicate that.
So perhaps we should agendize
Okay.
developing a communication document. I won't call it a manifesto.
A white paper.
A white paper that describes
Our concerns.
sort of the issues that we see. We can't really discuss that in any detail now because we haven't agendized it, but it's certainly something we could agendize and develop a cogent list of reasons why we either think or don't think it's appropriate to move forward.
And we
on
certainly
Well,
seem
what we
to, we have
think-
enough
well, what we
people
think
on the
the city
dais who,
needs.
So-
it seems like we have enough, we have almost universal,
Right, so could we take the,
well, we have more
more
than
than
that.
three, could we take the parking study that was accepted by the city council, which means that we can look at it now, right? Is that what accepted means?
We should have been able to, we could look at it at any time.
What I'm saying is we could look at it and review it and then come up with a proposal of how to go forward with it. You need to turn your mic on.
Can you,
It's a study that we have now in our quiver.
Right.
And.
could you
what we
soft
do with
copy
it
that,
is-
a copy to all of us? I'd like a soft copy.
Yes.
Right, that's what I said.
Would you?
It could be an agenda item where that's the
discuss
main thing, and we
Just
talk about it,
discuss.
and then we use that as the springboard to talk about
I think
how
it's
to
the most
solve it.
important thing that we could do, as a commission, personally.
So we have enough commissioners who would like to put as an agenda item, discussion after receipt in soft copy of the current approved parking study, so that we can then discuss it and see how we would like as a commission to propose the council moves forward as an advisory body that we are.
Correct.
I'd like to make another.
Can I second that motion, or do we need to
Oh,
vote on it?
okay. Second-
I don't think it's a
second that?
motion. Do we need to
No.
move that? We just have to
No, I
request it
think
of
we
staff.
just
Fine.
need two commissioners need
We
to
have-
want.
We need
Three, and we've got
Okay.
it.
1, 2, 3.
Also, I'm aware that Val Carpenter is putting together an ad hoc downtown parking roundtable that includes Jeannie Bruins, and according to this, two of each of downtown property owners said, I'm going to call, if with your permission, I'd like to call Val and say, I'd like to be on this committee. I'm a downtown property owner, and I'm on the planning commission. Is that, am I overstepping my, right, because I'm a citizen?
You can ask anything you want.
You can ask anything of the
Okay.
city council.
I just
That would
wanted to
make
make
the
sure.
most logical sense. I mean, you're part of the business community and you're on the transportation.
But maybe when
Well,
you,
and I own a building in downtown.
but Jerry, when you say that, maybe the thing to say to Val is that we, as the Planning and Transportation Commission, have recommended to agendize the study so that maybe they can attend the meeting rather than having their own conversation, which ends up going nowhere.
You
So
mean,
my question is, these committees keep
Popping up and
created.
doing nothing.
They keep concluding we need parking.
well, that's half the reason why I want to be on the committee,
We're
is to see
just
where they're
gonna create
going with
another
it.
committee.
Right, which is why I'm saying maybe they could attend the meeting that we have the agenda
but-
item
but
discussion and
the-
then come to some conclusions.
There's a big difference between concluding you need a parking garage and saying, this is the parking garage.
Area.
And the area, and this is the building.
I mean,
and
do you
here's
put it
what
on,
it's
do you
gonna
put it on
cost.
2, do you put it on 7? I mean, it's, where do you put it? You know,
Or you have to. you
I
have
would
to
just say
choose.
just put it.
We have studies for that.
Yeah.
Trust me, we have studies for
Plenty of
that.
we do,
studies.
right.
We have studies for rotating it, so you start here, tear this down here, put that here, then rotate it into
So-
that. We have a lot.
So we have that, we have an agenda item for that. Wasn't there some discussion about agendizing some issues around traffic and circulation at San Antonio, First, and Foothill? Was that something that?
Was that part of the walkthrough that we were going to do to?
It was, I think, walked through and then, right? It was the
I
field trip.
didn't understand it like that.
Well, we were going to look at projects. That was our first thing. That was our The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly
Right.
walk tour.
But
But we also were talking about the T in PTC.
Right.
And what we could do, and we were looking at areas that get a lot
Circulation was a question,
got a
right?
lot of traffic.
Right. So I didn't know where we stood on the specifics of the circulation issues around San Antonio, Foothill, First Street.
I think the last time
Is that
John
something we
said that
would
he
go-
was
Because
working on
my
it.
observation is that the lights are out of sync.
I mean, we can.
I mean, really, no, and that's what needs to be addressed, and it's the county that owns the one on San Antonio and Foothill, and it's the city that owns the one on First and San Antonio, and
I mean, we can have our transportation manager put together some information on
Oh, that would
the
be great.
context of that intersection for you.
when we also
for your
said about
information.
Main Street as well.
And we could include Main Street.
That was
Yeah, we
the
wanna do
original
more with the
request.
T. We want
And
to,
then, and definitely in
And
the
Main
commission's
Street is
work
gonna have,
plan
Main
is
Street
to look
sued.
at those transportation
400 Main,
issues
rather.
that the community, within the context of this commission's
Okay.
work,
This-
and then, propose,
So-
I think, to council ideas.
So, David, that was actually an item that we wanted in front of us at about 3 meetings ago, and it was agreed, and it hasn't come up.
The
The T part, just exactly what you're talking about having the transportation.
yeah, I mean, that's
I think they were
it's up to
working.
this commission to.
We already agreed that we wanted that
That was,
so-
I think that was, they were working on it, right?
3 meetings ago. We said we'd like to have that as an agenda item. And
Yes.
it was all agreed on, and then, I think what we're saying now is, where's that stand? Because we haven't seen anything, and it's been almost 2 months.
I wasn't
I know that you weren't.
You weren't there.
aware.
You weren't in the meeting.
no, we brought it up at the last meeting, and I thought John said he was working on it. That's what I thought.
Which John?
Cedric,
John-
Cedric.
it was 2 meetings ago. At least 2 meetings,
2
because it would have
meetings
been
ago.
in the minutes last meeting, and it wasn't.
Anyways, if you can check.
John, I clarify, are you saying that if we agendize this parking conversation, that at that meeting you want to invite city council? Is that what I'm?
I thought you wanted to invite the roundtable.
I wanted to invite the roundtable.
That was not my.
That
That was
was
me.
Michael's.
That was
That was
me.
Michael.
I was saying,
Okay,
you know,
I'm not
if I
sure
would
that
invite
would-
them, that I would
Doesn't
invite.
sound like the right thing to do.
But if we're going to talk about it, why not invite the public to come talk about it? Ask Val, come to this meeting, because that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, I think she's just putting together this.
I think for us, it's important for us to first look at it,
Right, but you need
kind of
public
have a game
comment, right?
plan.
Well, the meeting
It
will.
will be a public
It'll be a
meeting.
public, it'll be a public.
Right,
meeting,
exactly.
yes,
So, it seems to me the output of what we do will likely be something which talks about the impact of
Improper.
inadequate
Parking on
parking
our-
and
on our town.
circulation issues as constraints to further development in Los Altos, which is what we see in a lot of the projects that come before us.
Or even
And-
existing attraction to being in
Right.
in
But
town.
but if we can start pulling together some information and some cogent arguments, that's probably a good discussion item to have with the city council when we get together with them, a very specific
But
document.
the first thing we have to do is all get a little more knowledgeable
Right.
about.
But both those issues
Yes.
are, in the spirit of what Ronit said, are key constraints to future development in town, I think.
Okay.
Jerry, I have a comment that this, actually Phoebe had mentioned this earlier, and it kind of went by very quickly. There was an article, it was in yesterday's Post, is that right,
I
Phoebe?
think so.
I would strongly recommend that all of us, including David and Sierra, read the article. It is about a former Palo Alto planning commissioner, and she is really on the warpath about how she thinks Palo Alto has been, the city of Palo Alto has been treated by both the city council and the planning staff. And I don't think our planning staff behaves the way she accuses the Palo Alto planning staff of behaving, but it is an article well worth reading. One of the points that she makes and I think it's a problem that we have in spades, is she thinks that basically all of the traffic analyses lie. They're inaccurate, they're silly, they're unbelievable, and 6 months later, you scratch your head and say, who the heck allowed this?
Right.
And I have been saying that every traffic analysis I've seen, I think, has been junk. And I don't know who hires the folks. I mean, I think last time we had Hexagon. I don't know who they are. But it's worth reading what this woman said.
I mean, I think the point is she echoes something we often say, which is there's a counterintuitiveness to a lot of the traffic studies we get.
Right.
Where they present something and they say, now, it may not make sense to you, but this is how the study works.
Our computer simulation showed that this must be true.
Well,
so
and the fact is, there are too many ways to do these things, and I know that our staff selects the one, not only the people who apply, but they select, as James says many times, this is the standard by which traffic studies are done.
Right.
What this woman said, what I took away from that article, is she said, I don't care what it says. It's not working, and we can look at it, we have it, this is what the study says, and when it goes to fruition, it's just not true.
Right.
So clearly, there's something wrong with that kind of study, and the specificity, I didn't get into it, it was a newspaper article, it didn't touch that,
Okay.
but it's
Would-
something we complain a lot about
Would
here,
Ken
too.
or Phoebe, would you get a copy of that article to David and have David circulate it? to
I'd
all
like
of
to
us?
see that.
Yeah.
I think it's
She-
safe.
Do you have that,
by
Ken?
recycling.
I have yesterday's post, and I will make a copy of the article, and I will email it to David, and then he can distribute it.
Thank you.
And let me just point out that for her trouble, she was basically fired from the Planning Commission.
Rebel rouser?
She was. She was, and she got terminated. So it's very interesting.
Let that be a lesson.
Yeah.
It's politics, but I like the idea that we have now a plan of action, whereas we will be able to present some kind of a white paper in our advisory role, which I think is a good thing to do.
So do I. Yeah, I think it's overdue.
And I think, you know what, it's a great article and we should read it, but we have to keep in mind that Palo Alto works
Oh, they're different than we are.
very different manner than Los Altos does.
And a
we
good
would,
thing, by
and
the
we
way.
want to keep it.
Yeah.
Well,
The
but
way
you know,
work it.
we know.
It's just a cautionary tale.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
in a year, when the projects that are in construction now are done,
that'll be a
we
nightmare.
talk, when Ron Lebetich gets up and says, I like the way the town is changing, people go by and they say, wow. Or someone says, I need to shop for a dress. There are a lot of boutiques, I'm going to go to Los Altos and shop, where 10 years ago, we were concerned there were going to be nail salons up and down the entire state in
Or
Maine.
restaurants if they come.
So the thing is, we can see that they're going to be feet on the ground, which is always what the Downtown Zoning Committee was looking at, is
I mean, they're going to be
continuous
cars on
retail.
the streets.
And we want feet on the ground because then you can attract retailers who have certain statistics that they have, if you don't have this many feet on the ground, they're not coming to your little town. All these things are true, but the parking.
Has to happen.
Okay.
So
Any
is
other
there anything
agenda
else?
items?
I just want you to know that it's harder for me to get my nails done in Los Altos now because of people like you.
You should go to my lady, she's really good.
That's the agenda item. We need Ken's nails.